Hi there, and welcome to Stitch and Thread, the channel where we're talking all about knitting. My name is Anna, and whilst usually I come out to you to talk about my knitting creations, today I would like to take you with me on a journey to Denmark. Just recently, I returned from my first ever knitting retreat, and this knitting retreat was a retreat to Isager school as well as a store, of course. And it was organized by Oxford, a yarn store, the yarn store in Oxford. Thanks to that yarn store, I was able to meet so many fellow knitters. I got so inspired by them, and I'm really, really grateful for this experience. If you're also a knitter, who knows, maybe next year you will be one of those knitters who'd go to Denmark to see what Easter yarn is all about. I must caution you that this is my first experience vlogging anything, so I apologize if it looks a little bit amateurish, but still I wanted to share my experience, and I sincerely hope that you like it. I started my trip quite early in the morning. It was still dark outside, but as soon as I hopped on the train, I started knitting. I was determined to do quite a bit of knitting during my holiday. Once in London, I needed to catch a DLR train, is overground train, which goes right to the London City Airport. The airport I was flying from that day. It's pretty cool. You don't have a driver at the front, so you can see all the way through and even catch like O2, that's the spiky building, or the Golden Syrup Company. Didn't know they were actually in London personally. Once at London City Airport, I checked in my luggage. Everything went smoothly, although quite a few people in the morning. But I managed to get myself some lunch for later on and found a cozy spot to just look at the morning scenery, watch the planes go by, and do some more knitting. As you can see, I have a wooden needles, which I took specifically on the plane to avoid any issues. But I still was pulled aside, or rather my bag was double searched because it was determined that there are some sharp objects in there. The lady actually had to ask her supervisor if these were allowed. Luckily they were, but for this reason, I think I'm kind of not even attempt to take my metal needles on planes for the foreseeable future. My first plane took me to Amsterdam, where I was supposed to change to Aalborg in Denmark. And I did promise my daughter to look for tulips for her. However, the only tulips I could find were in a house of tulips, a shop at the airport itself. Amsterdam airport was huge. You can't even compare it to London City Airport, but I was still excited. I was going on a holiday, so nothing can deter me from getting there, even though I had to ask for help trying to find my transfer kind of route to my next destination. Still, I managed to board the second plane already. It was quite interesting to go over the real kind of road whilst on the plane, but in no time we were off. I was again searching for some tulips, found none. So I resorted to just look out the window, relax, do some more knitting. My sock grew a little bit over that period of time. And in no time, we landed at Aalborg Airport. And again, such a big change from Amsterdam Airport to Aalborg, where you literally have one small terminal. It took me about 20 meters to reach the terminal and receive my luggage. And I had a couple of hours to spare, so I found this lovely spot, which I actually had to myself for a few minutes. It was a one lovely, quiet spot to watch the world go by. I did change some money to get some Danish krona, and I had a couple of hours to kill before my transfer bus would pick me up. So I did some more knitting at that lovely spot. A couple of hours later, I went out of the airport, met other fellow knitters, and the bus took us to our final destination, which is Tversted, northern point of Denmark. Tversted is a small village which has still quite a few craftsmen there, but all of us knitters were specifically interested in Isager school, where we are about to spend next 6 days, as well as Isager yarn store. And as you can see, we're just pulling to the car park of Isager, and we are there. Shortly after, we were given a tour of the school, where a lot of craftsmen, local craftsmen, rent their studios or rooms, and they spend quite a few days or weeks sometimes doing their craft, which was really lovely to see, as this building was originally just a regular school in the village, and now it's like a focal point for local craftsmen. The following morning, we were greeted by a bunch of alpacas. It turned out they are our lovely neighbors. They're so very fluffy, cute, and very inquisitive as well. After seeing the alpacas, a lot of us decided to head to the beach. It is about a 30-minute walk, was glorious day, still a bit chilly, a bit of chill in the air. So none of us at that day decided to go for a quick swim. On the way back, alpacas were already in a different spot, and here it is, the first workshop that we had that morning was a double knitting, something I haven't done before, as well as quite a few people. But Kirsten, who was leading the workshop, she was very patient, very knowledgeable, and was always happy to help. Just like as you can see, she was talking to me. That morning, we were yet to know what to come, and that double knitting would be quite simple in comparison to our afternoon workshop. In any case, it took still some concentration, quite a few failed attempts, but my swatch was still growing, and my double knitting skills were actually improved. In the end, I got into the groove of things. I realized how to hold these two different colors together so that it would result in a fabric which is one color on one side and different color on the other. It is a bit tricky, but overall I think the result is quite a warm garment or accessory. So now you can see my result. I think in the end we just needed to make a letter O, and it does look like it's meant to look. Now we are in our afternoon workshop, and for the afternoon workshop we were supposed to do an auto swatch. It is a design by Helga Isager, where she combines different techniques, different materials. We needed to use Italian cast on, which actually quite a few of us were not familiar with. We were trying to help each other, and as well as Kirsten was helping us as well. After Italian cast on, we used a combination of like two different Isa yarns. However, later on came the boucle yarn, and that proved to be challenging. I believe we were supposed to do a technique called mosaic knitting, where you had like different types of yarn just hanging around. It was quite hard, but in the end, I was very proud of myself, and actually I achieved that lovely leaf. And the following morning, it was quite cloudy outside, a bit of chill in the air, as usual it seems, so I decided to head straight to school and did a few rows in the morning before the workshop. The next workshop was Introduction to Isa yarn, the colors and textures, and it was led by Birgit, who you can see talking to us. It was such an inspirational workshop. I think a lot of us opened the eyes to see how combination of different yarns can result in such different result, and how when you combine some colors the result could be astonishing. After such an amazing introduction to Isager yarn, a lot of us felt so inspired that we finally decided to pay a visit to Isager yarn store. It was my first time, and I felt like I entered a paradise. It was, I think, my perfect yarn store. There were so many different garments on display. Every single garment you're allowed to try on. Something I haven't noticed here in the UK, but I don't really have a lot of stores near me. It was just amazing to see some designs which I can recognize from seeing them online, but like in real life, feeling the texture, seeing the colors in real life, and notions, needles. I think it was a store where you can come in and buy a lot of things. Basically, you can come in and spend a fortune in there very easily. In the afternoon, we were asked to create a swatch combining at least two colors together, something that by default you might not even try, but make a swatch big enough so you can see the fabric. I went with a combination of emerald green and khaki colors, and that's my result. I was actually quite pleased. After the workshop, I wanted to go to the beach yet again, this time on my own, just to enjoy the scenery, the countryside. I found some lovely hotel en route where I assume in summertime quite a few people probably are staying. It was about a 30-minute walk each way, so you get to see quite a few things en route and just enjoy the scenery. Some people I notice have ice cream, even though it's April, but I feel that for this time of the year for Denmark, it was actually quite warm, though I cannot say the same thing about myself. You can see yet again the same hotel, which is very close to the beach. The beach itself is just lovely. It's sandy. I think if it was quite a few degrees higher, I would enjoy it. But I noticed that quite a few locals just love coming to the beach, sometimes with children, just to enjoy, or sometimes just to have a quick splunge. To be fair, some members of our group were also into that. They would go each morning and have a quick splash, like in and out of the water. This wouldn't be me. I wouldn't be doing that, that's for sure. But I personally really enjoyed walking to the beach, alongside the beach, especially on a nice sunny day. It's just kind of one of those moments that you treasure. On the way back, I felt a bit thirsty, and whilst I was taking videos of local houses, I really felt thirsty, so I had to a local spa shop and got myself a freshly squeezed orange juice, and that was lovely. We had our workshop room available to us at any time. So after dinner, I went back and started my swatch extravaganza, I would call it. The following morning, as usual, I was greeted by a bunch of alpacas who were particularly hungry that morning. Our special workshop for the day was plant dyeing with Lot Denkirk. She was a special guest and she came from quite a bit away to show us how to dye yarn using plant matter. And as you can see right now, these are all her samples that she dyed herself using some plants that she found in the local area, and all these labels actually show what did she use to dye them with. Here Lotte gave us a quick introduction to herself, her business, what she does, and why she does it as well. First of all, we needed to gather some plant matter, so we went on a trip to the local forest, and Lotte actually helped us to find a few plants that we needed to gather to then dye our own yarn. As you can see here, me gathering a few plants. It was particularly cold and windy that day. Once we were back, we prepared a wool for dyeing, and we divided into groups, so we were helping in different groups. And when we had an opportunity, we were trying to squeeze visits to Yisa yarn store. I was particularly drawn to Japanese cotton that Isa had. I made a countless swatches with it. I absolutely loved working with Japanese cotton, even though I'm not a big fan of working with cotton whatsoever. It was quite a big find for myself. And earlier in introduction to color work, we tried one top with that cotton, and it was so lovely to touch, to try on. So I was quite determined to make something with that. And spoiler alert, I actually purchased quite a few balls of the Japanese cotton. In the meantime, we had to go back to our plant dyeing workshop, where we were supposed to take the wool, prepared already wool, out of the container. At the same time, we prepared a dye bath from our most plants that we gathered. We cut the plant matter into smaller pieces and put them in water and heat it up to about 80 degrees. Then maintain the temperature for an hour. Then we strained out the plant matter, and then at some point we actually put the rinsed yarn back in. Follow that, yet another trip to Ise yarn store, of course. Next morning was another sunny day, and finally I was able to take a short video of the areas where we were staying for this whole time. You can see there is a yarn store, the store of my dreams, and very dangerous indeed, because a lot of things were purchased there. And then if you continue a bit further, this is the school where we spent most of our days. This morning, as the previous day as well, we spent with Lotte, and we continued looking and plant dyeing our yarn. This morning we were dyeing a yarn with cochineal. It is some kind of pinkish insect. It was already dry, so apparently it's very good for dyeing a yarn. Because of the color, I was actually interested if it's possible to achieve the same color by using just beetroot, but I was told that sadly it's not the case. So insects apparently are doing much better job with dyeing yarn, and in the end, this very yarn got a really bright pink color. Because we were split into groups again, we had some time when other groups were involved, and we did sit in the cozy room, as we called it. It's a lovely room where you have a lot of sofas, a lot of books by Helga or Mariana Issa, so we could look through and do some knitting. As you can see, Lotte is taking out our dyed yarn, and you can see how bright this pink color is, and this is our result. I think for the first time dyeing, it doesn't look too bad. Quite bright, quite bold colors here. We took the yarn outside for drying, so it's all done, and our hard work has paid off. We had some more time after that to do some knitting and to do some shopping. As you can see, I have a bag next to me from Isa. Yet another purchase. There was quite a lot of yarn purchased, of course, from Isa. I'm sure that they've made lots of money out of us. But in any case, I was really grateful to be able to try the yarn, and this watch I think might become something beautiful one day. Also, we had a yarn Swift at our disposal. I do not own a Swift. I've never actually tried, so for the first time ever, I was shown how to use it, and I loved it. And considering how much yarn I purchased, which will need winding, I have a feeling I know what I want for my birthday present this year. The same afternoon, we had yet another amazing experience. We were shown into a mini mill. That mill was just opened a year ago. It was purchased by Isager, and I think they're trying to bring back mills and the whole production into Denmark, because apparently there are no mills in Denmark. So all the wool, if they have any, is going to Italy, Germany. Our lovely guide, as well as manager of this mini mill, gave us quite a nice talk about the sheep in Denmark. That the sheep are usually just being reared for meat, and it is apparently quite important to work with farmers to for them to breed specific type and specific breeds of sheep which would be suitable for wool making. He showed us the whole process, how you wash the wool first, how you kind of split it apart first time, and it actually takes quite a lot of processes uh, to get the wool as we know it. It was my first ever visit even to this kind of mini mill. I've never been to a real big mill before, but I thoroughly enjoyed the experience, and it's so nice to know where your wool is coming from. It also turned out that the whole time when we are doing plant dyeing of the wool, it was this very wool coming from this mill. So this mill is located literally 100 to 200 meters from our school and is a yarn store. So everything was so local. I was also astonished to find how much machinery is required to produce the wool. Apparently, just a year ago, they purchased all this machinery from a Canadian company, I believe, and there was a person who was helping to set it all up, to get it to go. And all this time, they were trying to work out the best way, the best solutions, how to use this specific wool, what kind of wool they should produce. I think at the moment they've only producing just general wool, as well as a blend with those very alpacas I showed you earlier on. So sometimes they have a blend of 50% alpaca, 50% of wool. And as you can see, there are so many different stages. Like at this point, the wool is kind of divided and being slightly squashed, but not too much, and being put into these kind of canisters. And then again, after that, it continues on its journey further on. Also, if I remember correctly, the temperature inside the mill as well as humidity, they are supposed to be at certain point for the fleeces as well. So all in all, it seemed to be quite a complicated process nowadays. Of course, the visit to the mill resulted in us popping into their local store. They don't seem to dye wool, but as I said, they have sometimes like tops or wool itself just mixed in, because different sheep are different colors, so they mix them sometimes in. And again, such a lovely shop and such a lovely place. We spent quite some time in the shop yet again, and some of us considered if we should supplement the plant dyed yarn with some bases from the shop, because it's the same yarn base. Some of us were again inspired by different garments on a display. So a lot of shopping yet again. But after that, we had back to our school with a field of sheep, the real sheep, which obviously are used then to make the fleeces in that very mill. So a short walk back to school for a nice afternoon snack with yet another sheep. This time it was produced by a local artist. It's quite a big sheep. At first, from far away, I thought it is a cow. Then yet another morning when we are greeted by alpacas. I love seeing them every single morning, but today is a special day as we are about to take a trip to Skagen. It's the northernmost point of Denmark, and as you can see, the landscape is changing very rapidly, even though it is about 40-50 minute drive on a coach. And yeah, so we had a quite a nice driver who was keeping us entertained along the road. We were told that Skagen consists of Gamel Skagen or Old Skagen and the modern main part of the town. So at first we were taken to the main part of the town, which was actually developed later on. And apparently, during the summer, the city is one of the favorite destinations for the wealthy from Copenhagen who comes here for 1 week during the summer holiday. And because this is the week when everybody wants to be seen in the village, the prices of hotels are skyrocketed as well as prices in the restaurants. We were also shown Skagen Nature Center, so natural center, but my understanding is that most stuff there is in Danish and possibly more relevant to local public. Our main destination for the day was the tip of Grenin. This is a peninsula north of Skagen, and this is the point where the Baltic Sea meets the North Sea. We were taken to that place by a special Sandomen. It's like a tractor which has some passengers, so quite a nice drive on that chilly morning. It probably took us around 10 minutes to get to the very tip, and what a sight it was! It was so interesting to see how, when you look to the left, the waves are coming towards the right hand side, and when you look to the right, you can see the same waves, but they're coming from the right side to the left side, and at that tip of Grenin they meet. In that place, as you can imagine, it's strictly forbidden to swim due to the very strong currents. After 10 minutes, we were happy to get back into our lovely tractor, and then we met our coach and went back to the main Skagen part where we explored the town a little bit with its yellow colored buildings. And I personally have one thing on my mind is to try some local Danish pastries, and that's exactly what I did. With another fellow Nita, we ordered some drinks and some lovely pastries to try, and they were absolutely gorgeous, as must be said. I really enjoyed this bakery. It seemed that a lot of locals keep on coming, just like I saw in France, and we just decided to take advantage of a great sunny day, found a sunny yet out of wind spot, and spent a couple of hours just talking and knitting, and felt, I think for the first time in a few days, I felt quite relaxed because I didn't want or I didn't have to run anywhere. And yeah, it was a really lovely afternoon in Skagen. Later that afternoon, our driver stopped at the sand-covered church, or as it's sometimes translated from Danish as the Buried Church. It is a name given to a late 14th century church dedicated to St. Lawrence of Rome. It was a brick church of considerable size, and it is located just 2 kilometers southwest of the town center of Skagen. During the last half of the 18th century, the church was partially buried by sand from nearby dunes. The congregation had to dig out the entrance each time a service was to be held. The struggle to keep the church free of sand lasted until 1795, leaving the tower as the only part of the original structure still standing. Sadly, the next day was a day when we needed to leave Isager school, and the whole experience was so lovely. I met so many people, and I really wanted to show you the workshop room where we had access to all the lovely yarns from Isager. We were allowed to try different yarn combinations, different yarns, different ways, try to combine them, try to create different textures. Sadly, I had to say goodbye to my lovely new friends. Goodbye, alpacas. You were lovely. I had to say goodbye to my quite short stay in this lovely room, which I had all to myself. And off we go on the bus yet again, and off to the airport. Again, it was really nice meeting everyone, getting to know new people, fellow knitters. We had such an amazing time, such an amazing food, and generally it was lovely to get to know people with the same interest. And I have a feeling that maybe traveling solo, I was a bit apprehensive at first, but I realized it could be a lovely experience. And yeah, that's my plane, and off we go. Goodbye, Denmark. Goodbye, fellow knitters, new friends I've made there. And hopefully, I'll be back again, at least at some point in the future. My trip back home was uneventful, and even at Amsterdam airport, I was able to find the right desk and go to the right place to find my next flight. I was quite engrossed in the book I was reading, so the couple of hours just flew by, and in no time I was back in London, where on that day it was actually really, really warm. That's it. I realized I didn't show you all the yarn that accompanied me back to England. The whole yarn situation will be addressed in my next knitting podcast, so stay tuned for that. Probably will come out in the next couple of weeks. In the meantime, if you're still here, thank you so much for watching. If you like my content, feel free to subscribe to my channel, and please comment. Have you ever been to a knitting retreat? I'd love to know, because that was the first experience for me. Thank you again. Bye.